Hello friends, this is your friend back with a new fanfic, Self-Trained Naruto Returns Unstoppable. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's start. Lie, cheat, manipulate, deceive, betray. Let us honor the true spirit of the ninja way as we fight to the death today. Fu said jovially, pulling, out of her exposed belly, a very large sword that was the size of her body. A sword that was actually not a real sword at all but was one of the wings of her biju, the root of the wing that connected to the biju's body being used as a hilt and the wing itself as a large, glowing green sword. Yeah, great, let's do that. Darui said, not giving Fu a chance as he immediately attacked with his full shunshin speed. Pulling out his gigantic sword and aiming a horizontal strike at Fu's torso, only for his sword not only to be easily swatted aside by Fu, but for him to get sliced up as well as Fu moved at a speed that was far greater than his, Darui regretting not going all out from the start as he sustained multiple injuries, though thankfully none on his vital areas sustaining any damage. I didn't expect her to be that fast and strong without harnessing the power of her biju. I could easily have died if she had better offensive skills with the sword. Her defense, strength, speed, and reactions are incredible, but offensively, she isn't all that accurate at all. She's no Kenjutsu master, she's just a freak of nature. Darui thought analytically. Kuso. I really have no talent for Kenjutsu. I definitely should have killed you, I literally could have ended this fight in an instant, Kuso. Fu said in frustration. Out of sheer curiosity, why didn't you? Darui asked curiously. Well, you see, I have no talent whatsoever for this sort of thing. I'm way better at ninjutsu and taijutsu than I am with Kenjutsu. However, Naruto-kun insisted on Kenjutsu sparring with me thousands of times, even made me spar with multiple shadow clones for good measure. He said that even if I didn't have the talent for it, I could make up for the lack of talent by working extremely hard and honing my defensive instincts to the maximum. He also said the experience of having thousands of sparring sessions with him would help me to survive a Kenjutsu battle until I can eventually level up. Apparently there is such a thing as a genius of hard work. Fu said nostalgically. I see. That certainly makes a lot of sense. So Namikaze Naruto wanted to make sure that she could at least defend herself against Kenjutsu attacks and be able to read and react to them. He's a very meticulous guy. He'll make a great teacher one day, if he somehow survives his fight against Raikage-sama. Darui thought gravely. I see. That certainly makes a lot of sense. Still, I never expected you to be that fast and that strong without accessing the power of your biju. I underestimated you, Darui said inquisitively, hoping that Fu would open up and give him more information. Oh that, I'm surprised you don't know, after all, Kumo has 2 Jinchuriki, and you guys are known to be experts at training Jinchuriki. Fu said innocently. What are you talking about? Darui asked, confused. Jinchuriki, more often than not, get bloodline limits from their biju. For example, the 5 Tails Jinchuriki has the ability to use steam release, the 4 Tails Jinchuriki has the ability to use lava release, and the 1 Tails Jinchuriki has the ability to use magnetic release to control sand, all abilities that they got from the biju inside of them. As for me, well, I have the super strength of a dung beetle and the super speed of a tiger beetle, both of which are the strongest and fastest insects respectively. My biju may have the appearance of a rhinoceros beetle, but it has those abilities. Fu explained patiently. I see. Che, even if you have the combat skills of a Jonin, you're definitely not ready to be a Jonin going out and sharing so much information about yourself to an enemy. That's a classic rookie mistake. Darui retorted. Is it though? Did we not just waste 5 minutes doing nothing but chit-chatting? How many minutes are left now? 4. Fu asked with a sinister smirk. Shit, she totally played me. She was willing to give such detailed and long explanations because she knows that all she has to do to get a guaranteed promotion is to run the clock down. I'm such an idiot, Darui thought angrily. You deceitful witch. You'll pay for that. Swift release, shadowless flight. Darui exclaimed as he disappeared in a burst of speed, activating his bloodline limit, a bloodline limit that combined the elements of lightning and wind in order to boost the speed and reflexes of a person to beyond normal human levels, appearing behind Fu on her blind spot as he tried to decapitate her from the waist. However, much to Darui's surprise, Fu was able to react in time, twisting around and holding her sword in a vertical defensive stance, effectively blocking Darui's attack. She didn't waste time after that either, as she followed up with her own attack, attempting to cleave Darui's head off of his shoulders, the fight carrying on like that as they exchanged parries and counter-attacks at a ridiculous speed. It wasn't just the speed either, as the power was also insane, destroying large sections of the battle with just the shockwaves from the parries and even their missed swings. Very few people able to follow their movements at all, namely, only Tayuya, Naruto, A, C, Suzumaki, Yugito, B, Karui, Omoi, and Kuretsuchi able to follow their movements at all, and that was only because they too had experience moving at close to that kind of speed with their own speed techniques. Unbelievable. I can't believe she is keeping up with my swift release speed. Speed of a tiger beetle, huh? Insane. Darui thought as he began to realize that there might not be an end to this battle if things carried on like this, at least not before the 10-minute mark. How is he able to parry my attacks? I should be way stronger than him. Naruto-kun says that my strength is on par with Godime-sama. So how? Is he really that strong? These Yatsuki ninja are insane. Fu thought warily, surprised more by Darui's strength than his speed as she knew that the Yatsuki clan had been producing speed merchants for generations, raising an eyebrow when she saw Darui pull back as she expected him to keep the pressure on her in order not to waste any more time. Giving up already? Whatever will Lord Raikage say about your lack of will to fight? There's only 2 minutes left, you sure you want things to play out like this? Fu said tauntingly, raising both eyebrows this time, surprised when Darui threw his sword far away. What the hell are you doing? Surely you're not giving up, are you? Fu asked curiously. Black lightning, lightning armor. Darui said as black lightning, a lot of it, suddenly appeared all over and all around his body, the sheer power and speed of the lightning oscillations quite frankly ridiculous, Fu thought. What is he? Is he even human? Those are Biju-level chakra frequencies. This guy, he definitely must be Lord Raikage's successor. Fu thought as she too disintegrated her winged sword, realizing that it was going to be utterly useless now. To answer your question, no, I'm not giving up. This is the form I take when I am determined to kill someone with my bare hands. A sword would only be a hindrance when I'm in this state. Darui said ominously. Wow, scary. I better not get caught sleeping. Fu thought as she activated version 1 Biju mode, a 7-tailed chakra cloak appearing around her body as she took on a taijutsu stance. Kuso, I actually almost forgot she could do that. Normally it wouldn't make a difference to me, but she was already super strong and super fast without the chakra cloak. This might not go according to plan. But I cannot waste any more time. Here we go. Darui thought as he attacked, moving at an even greater speed than he was before, Fu meeting him halfway as she charged at him too, loud, eardrum bursting and destructive shockwave reverberating all across the battlefield when their firsts collided, so much so that for a second, it looked like the barrier was not going to be able to hold, more Anbu jumping into the fray in order to further reinforce the barrier. However, Fu and Darui paid no mind to this as they continued to try and take each other's heads off, multiple sound barrier breaking shockwaves washing over the battlefield as the field itself got destroyed beyond recognition. This would carry on for the next minute, with neither warrior able to get a significant advantage over the other, Dodai shouting out to Darui that there was less than a minute remaining and that he had to make definitive move now or lose the fight in less than 60 seconds. Black Lightning, version 2 armor. Darui said as he activated the final stage of his armor, a version that produced more chakra, more speed, and more strength for him. However, Fu wasn't taking any chances, as she was not going to risk losing her Jonin promotion when she had come this far. Biju release, version 2. Fu exclaimed as a much denser and much more potent chakra cloak enveloped her, making her look like a miniature 7-tailed beetle. Huh, did you really think I'd let you win this late in the game? Fu exclaimed as she charged at Darui, the sound of the impact and the shockwaves that followed after every clash enough to make 99% of the people in the arena want to run away for their lives, yet at the same time the miracle that was transpiring before them enough to keep them glued to their seats. It felt like only 10 seconds, but 60 seconds went by pretty fast, the buzzer ringing loudly as Dodai quickly called for the end of the fight, not wanting to put any more strain than necessary on the Anbu that were trying to maintain the protective barrier. Ha 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 ha. I win. I win. Naruto-kun. I win. I win. Fu exclaimed excitedly, Darui falling on his knees when he realized what had happened, unable to believe that he had actually failed to destroy a mere genin. Yosh. Fu-chan. You're the best. You totally destroyed him. He didn't stand a chance. Naruto shouted in return. What the hell are you talking about, idiot? All she did was run the clock down. She barely did any damage. Kuretsuchi exclaimed angrily. In the ninja world, it doesn't matter how you win, as long as you win. Naruto retorted, sticking his tongue out at Kuretsuchi, who had to fight hard to resist the urge to pull on her hair in frustration. Arg, I hate you. Namikaze Tem, Kuretsuchi exclaimed angrily. I think at this point it's safe to say that I'm glad you guys won't get to face these monsters in the Chunin exams. I don't doubt your abilities whatsoever, you are without a doubt genius shinobi in your own right, but this is just ridiculous. These aren't shinobi, these are monsters. Ao said into his genin team, shock and awe visible and audible on his face and voice respectively. Hey, you ain't seen nothing yet. Wait until you see Naruto-kun in action. He'll obliterate Lord Raikage, Tayuya said confidently. Jiraiya-sama, what manner of monsters have you created? Ao asked curiously. Believe it or not, I had nothing to do with this. I am only their Jonin-sensei in title only. I am just as surprised as any of you. Jiraiya said in awe. The sheer speed and physicality is enough to render any form of ninjutsu to be utterly useless. You wouldn't even be able to form hand seals before they killed you. If you went into a fight without prior preparations, you'd be dead in an instant. Even in Sage mode I can't be sure if I could keep up with the speed and strength that was displayed here today. Jiraiya thought warily. Hey Naruto. Jiraiya trailed off as Naruto jumped, so high that it looked like he was floating, or even flying, but he wasn't flying as he eventually went down and landed a short distance away from Fu, the impact of his landing causing a crater to form under him. You did it, Naruto said with a loving smile, walking closer to Fu before pulling her into his arms and into a loving and passionate kiss, which of course was totally weird as Fu was still in her version 2 state. In other words, she still looked like a demon. Murmurs and shocked whispers going around the arena as most people looked on in disgust at what they were seeing. Congratulations, my beautiful, powerful, and beloved wife. I'm so proud of you. Naruto said after breaking the kiss, looking Fu in the eye as she deactivated her Jinchuriki form and went back to her normal human form. Thank you, my love. I can't wait for you to defeat Lord Raikage. Fu trailed off as there was another shockwave behind Naruto. Naruto turning around to see that the Raikage had also apparently jumped all the way to the arena. Girlfriend, wife, plaything. I don't care. If she doesn't get out of the arena in the next few seconds, her head's gonna roll. The Raikage said in a matter-of-fact tone. Well, someone's a little too eager. Naruto said casually, giving Fu one last kiss on the forehead before ushering her out of the arena. Fu whispering good luck before quickly making her exit. Naruto taking note of the fact that there were now far more Anbu squad members erecting the barrier than there were in Fu and Darui's fight. I see they're not taking any chances this time. The barrier almost broke when Fu-chan and Darui Dono fought. They probably expect even more destructive power in a fight between the Kyuubi Jinchuriki and Lord Raikage. Naruto noted. I'm not and Darui, I'm not going to ease you into the battle. I'm sending your head flying, Kozo. The Raikage said as he activated his lightning release armor, not even version 1 of the armor but going straight to version 2. What a monster. Those are elite Uzumaki chakra levels. The Yatsuki clan are really something else. Chakra that can compare to a Biju huh? I guess stamina is not going to ever be the reason he loses a fight. Naruto thought as he grabbed the hilt of his sword, the bandages wrapped around it disappearing in a puff of smoke, just in time too as the Raikage came flying at Naruto at a far greater speed than Naruto expected. However, Naruto, at the last moment, able to escape the Raikage's close line, as a result, getting to keep his head on his shoulders for at least a little longer. He dodged me. How? That was no normal Shunshin technique. No mere Shunshin would enable anyone to evade my attacks. Lord Raikage thought as he turned around to face the blonde Uzumaki. You look surprised, Lord Raikage. Surely, By now, you should know that Kumo shinobi aren't the only ones with high-speed nintaijutsu. Tell me, how did you like my Fuden, Shunpo no Jutsu? Naruto asked rhetorically. Wind style, flash step technique. And you think that's enough to defeat me? Don't underestimate the Raikage, Kuzo. Lord Raikage exclaimed as he charged at Naruto again, only for Naruto to dodge at the last moment again, the two of them singing this song and dancing to this tune for the next couple of moments as Naruto tried, and failed to find an opening, and the Raikage failed to land a single hit on Naruto or to catch him, the crowd watching, but not being able to follow with their eyes at all what was turning out to be the fastest game of tag ever. He's too fast and too skilled in taijutsu. I can't find an opening at all. Naruto thought as he continued to evade the Raikage's attacks, however realizing that the Lord Raikage was getting closer and closer to landing a hit on him, and would eventually do so if Naruto didn't start attacking soon. He's waiting for the perfect opening. Right about now, he's probably thinking that he is going to have to attack soon or he'll get obliterated. He'll be eager to mount an attack, so eager that he won't realize it's a trap. The Raikage thought as he intentionally overextended himself, pretending that he was getting desperate to land a hit on Naruto. Just as expected, Naruto didn't waste any time, enhancing the penetrative force of his sword with wind style as he swung with all his might with a downward, vertical strike aimed at the Raikage's clavicle, completely stunned and stupefied when the sword was deflected by the lightning armor, so hard and violently that it went flying away rapidly from his grip, crashing hard on the far side of the barrier. What the was that? Wind style is supposed to have an advantage over lightning style. How the hell did he? Naruto trailed off as the Raikage grabbed him by the waist. Shit, he's got me. Naruto thought warily. I told you not to underestimate the Raikage, Kozo. Liger bomb. Lord Raikage exclaimed as he picked Naruto up over his shoulder and sent him crashing down head first onto the ground with a classic wrestling move, everyone in Kumogakure expecting the head of the Yellow Flash's son to get crushed into oblivion. However, much to their surprise, Naruto escaping the Raikage's grip at the very last second by literally floating up into the air, still upside down in exactly the position the Raikage had him when he sent him crashing down. Damn, that was close, Raikage Dono. You almost sent me to the afterlife to see my parents. Naruto said as he righted himself in the air, smirking when he heard Kuretsuchi throwing a fit about his ability to fly and how it was not fair because he should have died. You were right, no one should ever underestimate the Raikage. Naruto said as he rapidly made distance between himself and Lord Raikage, landing quite a distance away from the dangerous, gigantic, mammoth of a man. Congratulations Lord Raikage, I'm not underestimating you anymore. Naruto said as he created two Odama Rasengans on each palm. Rasengan huh? You really are your father's son. But how dare you underestimate me after saying you wouldn't underestimate me? What do you think a mere Rasengan can do to me? The Raikage said angrily. This is no mere Rasengan, check this out. Naruto said as he, inexplicably, rammed the two Rasengans into his own torso, at least that's what it looked like he was doing, the result not being what anyone expected as the Rasengans resonated with his chakra and turned into a potent, spiraling armor of chakra around his body. Ninpo, Rasen Chakra no Yoroi. Naruto said as he took on a taijutsu stance, the sheer potency and magnitude of chakra moving around Naruto and within his coils enough to make the Raikage pay close attention. Let us now find out who has the better chakra armor, shall we? Naruto asked rhetorically. I told you not to underestimate the Raikage. Lord Raikage exclaimed as he charged head-on at Naruto, moving at speeds that were beyond comprehension. Naruto reciprocating the Raikage as he too charged head-on at the gigantic, muscle-bound freak of an athlete. Elbow bolt. I exclaimed as he aimed his left elbow at the blonde Uzumaki's face. Naruto however proving to have superior reflexes in his Rasen Chakra no Yoroi form as he ducked under the Raikage's attack and nailed him with a left uppercut to the solar plexus, so hard that the Raikage was sent spiraling away rapidly, his body spinning around uncontrollably until he crashed violently into the barrier that was surrounding the battlefield, the impact so profound that it caused the entire arena to shake violently, as if a massive earthquake was about to take place. Don't underestimate the future Hokage. Naruto said with a taunting smirk plastered on his facial features. Honestly relieved to find out that his chakra armor was superior in both speed and power to that of the Raikage as he also wasn't sure that it would be until he tested it. Nevertheless, keeping an eye on the Raikage as the man seemed to have inhuman recovery abilities because of how quickly he managed to pull himself back on his feet after the fall, although Naruto didn't fail to notice the blood coming out of his lips, which meant that his attack did actually do damage, even if it wasn't visible on the outside. It is said that Lord Raikage has iron skin, that nothing can damage him even without his lightning armor. For the most part that seems to be true, he has sustained no external damage. However, the Rasengan is unique in that it causes both external and internal injuries. So even though he somehow tanked my attack, he was however unable to avoid the internal damage to his organs. Naruto thought analytically. He's both faster and stronger than me, and more importantly, he seems to have his father and mother's potent chakra sensory abilities. This means that he has the ability to predetermine and react to my moves by sensing the direction of chakra in my chakra coils, a sort of precognition. I'm at a disadvantage in many ways, but I have much more experience and skill than he does. I'll have to make it count, and I'll have to test his mental strength and endurance. I thought mentally. You are truly your father's son, but you're not him. I exclaimed as he once again charged at Naruto, knowing that the onus was on him to push the pace of the fight as all Naruto had to do was run the clock down, the two of them clashing repeatedly and with each clash, barrier-shattering shock waves washing over the battlefield, the very structure of the barrier and the arena itself becoming compromised. They're even faster than Fu and Darui were. What are they? Monsters? Ao asked incredulously. It's like they're not even human, I feel like I'm watching a battle between gods. Rinmara said in shock, everyone else thinking along the same lines as they couldn't believe the speed and strength on display. Dipshit is going to win this battle. Lord Raikage has an advantage in taijutsu skill and experience, but everything else is Naruto. The skill advantage is not big enough to make a difference in these circumstances. Even though it seems like they're fighting on equal footing right now, but Lord Raikage is working harder than Naruto to maintain this balance. Eventually, the difference is going to start the show, particularly in the second half of the fight. Tayuya said analytically. I'm not sure the battle is going to last that long. That barrier doesn't look like it can take much more, nor does the arena itself. This is not a battle that should take place indoors, nor should there be any civilians around. Jiraiya noted. True. Unless someone lands a definitive blow soon, this whole thing will end in disaster. Tayuya retorted. Naruto-kun is landing some critical blows, but Lord Raikage is just persevering with sheer force of will. I don't even know how he's still standing, much less fighting at this pace and intensity. Fu said in awe. The Yondaime Hokage fought Unruly Eye many times and was never able to take him down. I never knew why. I always thought that he just allowed him to live for some reason, maybe they were friends or something. But now I know why. This guy is an absolute tank. I wouldn't want to go up against. Jiraiya trailed off as the buzzer unexpectedly rang, the Toad Sanin's head snapping towards the direction of the clock as he was sure that there was no way that 10 minutes was up, which was true, as the clock showed that only 6 minutes had gone by. What is the meaning of this, Dodai? You better have a good reason for this or you'll have to suffer the Iron Claw. I said angrily. Forgive me, Lord I. However, if the fight is allowed to continue, most of the spectators will surely die. We are unable to maintain the barrier anymore, and the arena is at the brink of collapsing. Your battle is too violent to be held in a place like this. I'm sorry, but unless we want casualties, we'll have to consider this Namikaze-san's victory by default. Dodai said with urgency and concern, looking around at all the damage that he and Naruto had done and at how exhausted the barrier squad looked, all of them looking like they were a few seconds away from collapsing due to chakra exhaustion, and then finally, looking at the fear and concern on the eyes of both ninja and civilian alike on the stands. Fools. Why didn't they just leave if they were so scared? I thought irritably. HN. Yondaime Hokage's brat. You'll get your Jonin promotion, you've more than earned it. But don't think for 1 second this counts as a victory against me. I said with pride and arrogance. Thank you, Lord Raikage. I appreciate you giving this opportunity to both I and my beloved comrades. Your benevolence will not be forgotten. Naruto said with a small bow of the head, his chakra armor fizzing out of existence as it became clear that it was no longer necessary, the Raikage doing the same as he deactivated his lightning armor. It's probably for the best. If things had carried on like they were, I might have been forced to use the one-finger nukite to penetrate his armor. I thought as he turned and walked away, Fu and Tayuya running onto the battleground as they hugged the blonde Uzumaki in celebration. Naruto celebrating with his significant others, much to the Kumogakure no Sato people's chagrin, although their ire was far less than it normally would have been thanks to the fact that none of their own had actually been defeated as the battles ended only because time was up, although it could be argued that the buzzer actually saved Godspeed C from certain death. Later that evening, Naruto and Jiraiya's hotel room. The last thing I want to do is to spend my Jonin promotion day with you, you stupid pervert. We're supposed to be out celebrating, why are we cooped up in here with you? Tayuya asked irritably. Idiot. You really want to be out there rubbing it into Kumogakure ninja and civilians' faces that you defeated arguably their 3 strongest shinobi. Are you insane? Jiraiya asked incredulously. Maybe I should cap the day off by whooping if I take the scalp of Godspeed C and Toad Sage Jiraiya in one day, I'll be a legend even greater than Dipshit's dad. Tayuya said tauntingly. Oh ho 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 ho. You think you're invincible now just because you defeated Godspeed in battle. That's exactly the kind of attitude that will get you killed in battle. Never underestimate your enemy, no matter who it is, especially if it is me, Jiraiya trailed off with a grave undertone. Did you hear that dipshit? This just threatened me. Are you just going to stand there and do nothing while he threatens your wife? Che, some husband you are, Tayuya said indignantly. I'm pretty sure that he just gave you an important lesson about the life of a shinobi. No matter how powerful you are, you must never underestimate an enemy. I don't want our victory going to our heads, so I agree with him, especially since we are still surrounded by enemies from all sides. Naruto replied calmly. Quote. Damn, did becoming a Jonin cause you to become an old man or something? It's that Jonin vest isn't it. It's doing this to you. Tayuya asked playfully. Honestly, she had to say, Naruto looked incredible, now wearing a full Jonin uniform, complete with a long-sleeved black top, the top, because of Naruto's muscular physique, looking like a form-fitting shirt even though it was not meant to be, Naruto looking like he was made in a lab or something, or was personally designed by Kami-sama himself. He also had the green, standard Jonin vest on top the long-sleeved shirt, and was wearing black pants with white bandages around the ankles and black ninja sandals. He was still carrying the Kubikiribocho, although currently it was on Naruto's bed. He was wearing black fingerless gloves with metal plates at the back and his forehead protector was tied around his left arm, leaving his forehead visible where his blue pyramid-shaped seal was situated. She and Fu had chosen not to wear their Jonin vests, as it just didn't fit it with their attire at all, and they had no intention of changing their attires anytime soon. Besides, it wasn't uncommon for some shinobi not to wear the full Jonin uniform or any part of it for that matter, so they had decided to stick to their custom-made outfits. How the hell can a Jonin vest do anything to me? Naruto asked incredulously. I believe she means wearing it is affecting your ego. It has changed the way you think and the way you view yourself, according to her. Fu said, making sure to emphasize that she was only explaining what Tayuya meant to say and that she didn't necessarily agree with her. Okay, just shut up, both of you. We have more important things to discuss, like for instance, our exit strategy. With your promotions being official and Reikage Dono signing off on it and handing you your promotion certificates, there is no longer a reason for us to stay here. In fact, it would be far more convenient for us if we got as far away from Kumogakure as possible. Jiraiya said urgently. Quote. It's probably our safest bet, but not necessarily our wisest. The Chunin exams commence tomorrow, and the final round that takes place in just over a month's time will be a head-to-head, one-on-one battle format like the ones we had with Lord Reikage and his subordinates. It would be the perfect opportunity to evaluate our rivals, wouldn't it? Kuretsuchi, by the looks of things, is being groomed to be the Yondaime Tsuchikage, and most likely Suzumaki and Akatsuchi will be her elite guard. I also suspect that Katarashi Kagura will be the leading candidate to become the Rokudaime Mizukage, with Rinmara and Chojuro as his elite guard. Furthermore, the students of the Eight Tails Jinchuriki, Killer Bee, are participating in these examinations. Don't you think this is the perfect opportunity for us to the future threat level of the other ninja villages? Naruto asked rhetorically. Okay, fine, you make a valid point. I cannot argue against that, but still, it is too dangerous to remain here. I recommend we sneak out of the village, and then return a month later, just in time for the Chunin exam finals. Jiraiya suggested. Jiraiya-sama, how sure are you that we are in fact still in danger? I mean, sure, by being in enemy territory we are automatically in danger, but Lord Raikage has called off the village patrol. The village is no longer under lockdown. It appears as though he only did that to ensure we participated in the impromptu Jonin examinations. Fu counter-argued. Okay, look, I won't deny it, you kids make some compelling arguments, however, understand that I'm not ordering you to do anything. Tsunade Hime made it clear that I should follow Naruto's lead for the duration of the examinations. Whether it's because of his judgment or his instincts, she seems to have a lot of faith in his discerning abilities. I was merely sharing my opinion. Jiraiya said with his hands raised in the air in surrender. Dipshit, what do you think? Tayuya asked anxiously. First answer me this. What happened the other day when you went to confront Lord Raikage about the Jonin exam? Naruto asked curiously, directing his question at Jiraiya as he had been curious about that for a while now. Well, I lost it and beat up the guards when they wouldn't let me talk to the Raikage. When I got to his office, he asked if I had killed or maimed anyone on my way there, and when I explained I had only left them unconscious, he smirked and, well, he ran out the window along with his bodyguards, left me behind with his secretary, Mabui I think her name was. Jiraiya replied with a baffled tone and expression. What the shithead Sennin? That doesn't make sense whatsoever. That guy is not someone that would run away from anyone. He didn't even run away from my father-in-law, and that guy had a flee-on-sight order on him. So what? Tayuya asked incredulously. It was a strategic retreat. Lord Raikage broke or simply ignored many rules in order to make our exam possible. If he had been called out on it by a Konoha high official and still carried on with it despite those protests, it could have been grounds for war, at the very least it could have been an international incident. By running away, he denied the Konoha official, namely Jiraiya-sensei, the opportunity to lodge his complaint or protest. Even if Jiraiya-sensei had lodged the complaint with the assistant that remained behind, Lord Raikage could have just said that he hadn't made contact with her until after the exam, and therefore did not receive the complaint in time. Naruto explained with an amused smirk on his facial features, unable to believe how dastardly and mischievous the Raikage was. I guess it explains why they call him Unruly Eye. For a Kage, the guy sure is quite a delinquent. Naruto thought with a mental chuckle. Wow, talk about delinquent behavior. Ha ha ha, I think I'm starting to like Lord Raikage. Fu laughed innocently. Well, his delinquent behavior benefited us this time, but who knows what he might pull next time. All the more reason for us to get the hell out of here. Jiraiya replied. I think we should stay. Granted, it will be dangerous, so we'll have to stay on guard at all times, but I want to discuss some things with Lord Raikage and the resident Jinchuriki. I have somewhat of a proposal for them. Naruto said with a thinking pose. What kind of proposal? Tayuya asked curiously. It's still a work in progress. I'll let you know when I have all the finer details down. Naruto said cryptically. By the way, we have company, it's the Kurigakure team. Naruto said as he extended his left hand, a chakra chain flying out of his palm and attaching to the Kubikiribocho before retracting and pulling the Kubikiribocho back to him, Jiraiya's eyes popping out of his head as he couldn't believe what Naruto had just done. That's Kushina's jutsu. When did how did? Jiraiya mentally sputtered, realizing, in that moment, that there was probably still a lot more that he didn't know about Naruto, watching Naruto as if he was looking at a ghost as Naruto headed towards the door with the Kubikiribocho now attached to his back, opening the door just as Ao was about to knock on the door. Yo! Naruto greeted casually, as if he was greeting a friend of his who had just come over for a friendly visit. En Namikaze-san, please accept our apology for coming at this late an hour to see you, but we were worried that you might leave the village before we could talk to you, seeing as you no longer have a reason to stay after your Jonin promotion. Ao said humbly. I suppose you had no choice but to come in person, huh? The barrier I set up around this room prevents your Byakugan from allowing you to see into our room, doesn't it? Naruto asked rhetorically. Precisely. Even Rinmara's Fuinin was unable to pierce through your barrier. I've never seen anything like it. Ao said, impressed, but also wary as he imagined what someone who had the ability to negate his visual prowess could do. So he has X-ray vision too, huh? Interesting. Anyway, come in, make yourselves at home. Naruto said as he moved out of the way, the Kurigakure contingent cautiously entering the establishment as they all watched Naruto like a hawk. You may sit on my bed if you want. Naruto suggested. Thank you Namikaze-san, but it's quite alright. We would like to stand if you don't mind. Ao retorted. No problem, I prefer to stand too. So, anyway, how may we help you? Naruto asked curiously. We are here about the Kubikiribocho. Ao said, straight to the point. Seriously? This shit again? Tayuya asked irritably. This shit is important to us. It is not something we can just turn a blind eye to. Ao replied patiently. You've lost your chance to claim it back during the Chunin exams, seeing as Naruto will no longer be participating, and now you're here too. Jiraiya asked curiously. Negotiate. We want Namikaze to name his price. We believe it's better for all of us if we pay whatever price he asks in order to prevent igniting hostilities between our respective villages. Kagura said with a grave undertone. I see, and what about you, Naruto-kun? Do you want to sell the sword, given how much it means to you? Fu asked with concern. It means just as much to them as it does to me apparently, perhaps even more so. However, I am not willing to negotiate, Ao-san. There will be no negotiation. If you want the sword back, you're going to have to do what you said you couldn't do, you're going to have to turn a blind eye. Naruto said cryptically. What the hell? That makes no sense whatsoever. How are we going to get the sword back by turning a blind eye to the fact that you have it? Kagura asked incredulously. It's a metaphor, Kagura. He is referring to my Byakugan. The Byakugan is a Konoha heirloom, just like the Kubikiribocho. Ao explained with a grave undertone. It's only fair Ao-san, unless you're a complete hypocrite that is. You're not a hypocrite are you? Naruto asked with a no-nonsense tone. We will have to contact Mizukage-sama and let her know of these developments. I do not believe I have the authority to make this arrangement with you. Ao replied diplomatically. Do as you please. We'll be around until the final round of the exams. Naruto said as a matter of fact. That is good news. It should provide us sufficient time to receive feedback from Mizukage-sama. Thank you. Ao said with gratitude, even though he was still a bit wary about losing his Byakugan. Naruto nodding his head in the affirmative as he ushered the Kiri contingent out of his hotel room. Sheesh, those guys just don't give up today. Fu said tiredly. Apparently. It's understandable I guess. The 7 ninja swordsmen and their 7 swords are an important part of not just their history and traditions but also an important part of their military strength. Naturally, their first priority after taking back the village would be to retrieve all the swords and rebuild that legendary organization. Naruto replied. So, do you actually intend to give it back? I kind of like seeing that large clunky thing on your back, it kind of reminds me of the large thing on your front. Tayuya said with a lustful smirk. You perverted. You're worse than Ero Sennin. Fu said tauntingly. Shut up. It's not perverted you stupid whore. Dipshit is my husband, so it's romantic, Tem. Tayuya exclaimed angrily. Pervy Yuya, arg. Fu cried as Tayuya jumped her, strangling her sister-wife as she cussed and insulted her to death, while making sure she did in fact die by actually strangling her. Seriously. Is this going to be the rest of your life? How are you going to spend the rest of your life with these idiots and not go completely insane? Jiraiya asked incredulously. I'll figure it out somehow. Naruto said with a casual shrug of the shoulders. Well you better figure it out before your other wife dies from strangulation. Jiraiya said as he pointed at the 2 kunoichi, Naruto shaking his head as he released chains from his torso that quickly immobilized Tayuya. That's enough you two. Tayuya-chan, I have a backup sword, it's just as good as this one. Actually, it's better. Also, stop trying to kill Fu-chan, and Fu-chan, stop antagonizing your sister wife. Naruto chastised his wives sternly, both of them nodding their heads in the affirmative. He actually seems to have a good measure of influence and control over them. I'm actually surprised he can control these unruly girls. Maybe there is hope for him yet. Jiraiya thought. Anyway, it's time to go to bed. Jiraiya-sensei, Since you now know about my marriage to Fu-chan and to Yuya-chan, I won't be sleeping in the same room as you anymore. I'll be sleeping with my wives. We've already arranged for a new room with a king-sized bed. I hope you'll be okay on your own. Naruto asked rhetorically. You, together, all three, same bed. Jiraiya stuttered incoherently, a lecherous look on his facial features as he tried to imagine how the night was going to go. The mental images too much for him as he got blown away into unconsciousness, blood flying out of his nose as he hit the wall on the other side and slid down onto the floor. Damn pervert. Serves him right, Yuya said irritably. I guess I'll have to put up a protective barrier around this room then. Can't have just anyone walking in here while he's this vulnerable. Naruto thought out loud, wondering how Jiraiya had even survived this long without dying of blood loss given his perverted nature. Following day, near the Raikage Tower. Namikaze Tem, what are you doing here? Kuretsuchi asked with a sour attitude, not happy to see Naruto at all it appeared. I could ask you the same thing, aren't you supposed to be preparing for the Jonin exams? Sorry, I meant Chunin exams. Naruto said with a mischievous smirk, causing a tick mark to appear on Kuretsuchi's forehead. Why you arrogant little. We came here to talk to Lord Raikage about an important matter that concerns both his and our village. What are you doing here? Suzumaki asked quickly, cutting off Kuretsuchi before she could escalate the whole situation. Interesting. I'm here to talking to Lord Raikage about an important matter too, except it concerns not just our two villages but all of our villages. Naruto replied. All of our villages? What could be so important? Kitsuchi asked warily. Does the name Akatsuki ring any bells to you? Naruto asked curiously, focusing all of his fox senses, his chakra sensing ability, and his emotion sensing ability in order to determine if Kitsuchi and his team didn't tell any lies, or at the very least to gauge their physical and emotional responses to some of the things he was saying. Akatsuki? Who the hell is that? What kind of idiot calls himself that? Kuretsuchi asked incredulously. It's not a person, it's a mercenary organization. I don't know much about them beyond that, only that they are willing to take some of the most difficult missions for a lower market value than other ninja villages charge. Tsuchikage-sama has mentioned them in passing, how they were stealing some of the high-end business from the top ninja villages. But that's all I know about them. Kitsuchi replied, Naruto able to confirm that Kitsuchi was 100% honest with him, deciding there and then to pay him back in full for his honesty. I see. Well, they're a lot more than a mercenary organization, they may be a danger to us all. By us all, I mean every single ninja village in the elemental nations. Naruto deadpanned, much to the shock of his Tsushigakure rivals. What? That's impossible, Tem. How is a mere mercenary organization supposed to be a threat to all the 5 great shinobi nations, idiot? Kuretsuchi said condescendingly. Around 3 years ago, Orochimaru of the Densetsu no Sannin, leader of Otogakure no Sato, and former member of Akatsuki, formed an alliance with Tsunagakure no Sato, and together, they attacked Konoha during the Chunin exam finals, leading to the death of the Sandaime Hokage at Orochimaru's hands. Naruto explained, much to the shock and horror of the Tsuchi contingent, except for Kitsuchi who apparently already knew a little bit about that. I heard about that. News of the invasion reached Tsuchikage-sama's ears, but by the time he sent people to investigate, Konoha was already back on its feet again. In fact, it was like nothing happened at all. Kitsuchi replied. Our Jonin worked extra hard to make sure the rest of the world did not realize that Konoha had been weakened. I didn't see my Jonin sensei, Hitaki Kakashi, for months after the invasion. He was constantly taking on S-ranked missions to help maintain appearances and to keep a steady flow of income into the village. Anyway, that is besides the point. More importantly, a new Hokage was nominated, my master, Jiraiya-sama. Naruto said. But he's not the Hokage though, Tsunade of the Densetsu no Sannin is. And why do you have 2 Jonin senseis? Kuretsuchi asked confusedly. Kakashi-sensei, well, that's a long story. More importantly, Jiraiya-sensei refused the position, but promised to find and return to the village an adequate replacement. So, he was given a month to find Tsunade-sama, convince her to not only return to the village but to take up the mantle of Hokage. Naturally, he asked me, his apprentice, to accompany him on his journey, and that's when we were attacked by Akatsuki, more specifically, that's when I was attacked by Akatsuki. Naruto explained with a grave undertone. That's hardly surprising, you're not a very likable guy at all and you're the Yellow Flash's son. Do you have any idea how many people your father has killed? Honestly, at this point, you shouldn't even be surprised at all when people try to kill you. Kuretsuchi said smugly, taking pleasure in the suffering of the blonde Uzumaki. They didn't attack me because I'm the son of the Yellow Flash, they attacked me because I'm a Jinchuriki. Akatsuki is a mercenary organization, true, but that's just a means to an end. Their true goal is to collect all 9 of the Biju. They attacked me because they wanted to capture me, and presumably, to extract the Biju inside of me, and the 2 members who attacked me were Kin Slayer Uchiha Itachi, and the tailless Biju, Hoshigaki Kisame. Naruto replied to the shock and surprise of the Tsuchi shinobi. You defeated Hoshigaki Kisame and Uchiha Itachi at just the age of 15. Kitsuchi asked incredulously. 15. Kitsuchi-san, that was 3 years ago. How old do you think I am exactly? Naruto asked incredulously. Aren't you like, 18? Kitsuchi asked hesitantly. What? How old is your daughter then? Naruto asked curiously. She's 15, turning 16. Kitsuchi retorted. Then what makes you think I'm 18? We're literally the same age group, me and your daughter. I'm turning 16 this year too. Naruto replied. Wait, what? No way. Stop lying. How come you're so big and so tall? You don't look like a 15-year-old at all. I mean, just look at your muscles. Kuretsuchi said disbelievingly. Are you kidding me? Like, how old is this guy? Because he quite clearly looks taller than me. Naruto said, pointing an accusing finger at Akatsuchi. He's the same age as us, but that's different. It's a clan thing with him. His clan people have always been gigantic in size. What the hell is your excuse? Kuretsuchi asked incredulously. Honestly, I don't think I'm that tall. I'm 1.85 meters, only 3 centimeters taller than my father used to be. Naruto deadpanned. And I'm way shorter than your dad, he looks about 2.20 meters tall. He's a freak, Naruto said incredulously. I'm 2.17 meters, and yes, I would have been around the same height as you at your age, maybe even taller. Akatsuki said in retrospect. See, Naruto said incredulously, internally theorizing that maybe they thought he was older because of the fact that he was already taller than his father used to be as opposed to his height in general, seeing as 2 of them were absolute freaks of nature in that department. Okay, whatever, tall, short, who cares? The point still stands, you were way too young and inexperienced to have defeated those guys back then. How did you even survive? Suzumaki asked, confused. Honestly, it kind of felt more like a probe as opposed to actual attempt to kidnap me. I do not think Akatsuki were ready to move on to the final stage of their plan at the time, and the fact that they have been on a 3-year hiatus supports my theory to a significant extent. I think, since I hold the strongest of the Biju, they wanted to test me out and see how much of a threat I was and how much of one I might be in the future. They didn't seem to put much of an effort into it. Naruto replied. I see. So Orochimaru is a former member, and the only other 2 known members are legendary figures themselves of equal or even greater stature, and to top it off, these people are interested in attaining the power of the Biju. That really does sound like a big problem. How many of them do you think there are? Do you know? Akatsuchi asked warily. We believe there are around 9 or 10 of them. Naruto replied. That's not good at all. But there is still something I do not understand. If they were trying to gauge your potential, then why did they let you live? Given what I saw of you against Lord Raikage, you're definitely someone that should have been flagged as a serious threat whose talent cannot be allowed to bloom. Kitsuchi asked suspiciously. You would not have said that if you met me 3 years ago. Everyone who knows me from back then thinks that I'm a talentless good-for-nothing with no future as a shinobi. I was a total idiot, literally. I even graduated dead last at the academy. In fact, I failed 3 attempts at graduation, actually, 4 attempts, because I didn't pass the last one either. One could say I was given special exemption to graduate the academy. Naruto said with a knowing smirk, chuckling at the expense of the Tsuchi contingent as he saw the fish-eyed expressions on their facial features. Stop lying. That's not possible. Kuretsuchi said incredulously. Haha. Here, look at this. I still have my genin license. Check it out. Does that look like anyone to be taken seriously to you? Naruto said as he handed over his genin license to Kuretsuchi, who kept staring in disbelief as she looked between the current Naruto and the one in the picture on the license, unable to believe it was the same person as she saw a total clown with his face painted while he did some completely ridiculous pose. This is you just 3 years ago. You look so small, and stupid. I mean I still think you're stupid but not this stupid. Kuretsuchi said in disbelief. Wow, people really can change after all. It's like looking at two completely different people. Akatsuchi said in awe. It feels like killing you 3 years ago would have been much easier than it is now. Suzumaki said casually. Damn, killing the Yondaime Hokage's son is like a normal part of life for them. They talk about it like it's the same as eating or taking a dump. Naruto thought incredulously. This has to be a record for the most monumental personal growth ever. Who would have thought? Kitsuchi said as he was the last one to look over the license, handing it back to Naruto as he spoke. Thank you, I guess. Naruto said as he pocketed the license. Quote. So, this proposal of yours? Kitsuchi asked with a serious tone. It's two-part. First phase is to try and get Lord Raikage to agree to the formation of a joint, inter-village Akatsuki elimination task force to sort of nip the problem in the bud. I expect total rejection of course, in which case I hope to convince him to make sure that his Jinchuriki no longer go on solo missions, and when they do go on missions, they go with a strong, competent 4-man squad. Naruto explained patiently. And the reason you're so forthcoming about all of this information is that you're hoping that we do the same and convince Tsuchikage-sama to allocate 4-man squads to assist our Jinchuriki. Kitsuchi asked curiously. Exactly. I was planning to come to you with this information anyway, so it's actually quite convenient that I ran into you today. Of course, I could never expect a joint task force between Iwa and Konoha shinobi, that's impossible. If it wasn't obvious before, your attitude towards me has made it abundantly clear, but maybe at least you can all agree that Akatsuki needs to be dealt with and help your own Jinchuriki to that end. Naruto explained his reasoning. Why do you care about our Jinchuriki? We're your sworn enemies. Kuretsuchi asked, confused. Because I know what it's like to be a Jinchuriki. To be treated with fear, hate, scorn, and resentment by everyone, to live a life of complete isolation, devoid of normal human contact. I don't want to be arrogant and act like it's the most horrible existence in the world because there is a lot of pain and suffering out there, but it's definitely one of the worst. And now we're being hunted for sport. The very thought that there are others out there like me and I cannot do anything to help them. Naruto trailed off, clenching his fists tightly as he took a deep breath in order to calm himself down, thankful for his mastery over Sage Mode as it had helped him to have far better control over his emotions. Anyway, as they say, better the devil you know. My gut feeling is that the world is way better place with the Biju in the hands of the 5 great nations than in the hands of an organization of S-ranked criminals. Naruto said pragmatically. You're different than I thought. I thought you were nothing but a murderous devil like your father, but you're nothing like him, at least you don't appear to be as bad as him. Kuretsuchi said, Naruto internally wondering what the hell her father and grandfather told her about his dad, because the man he met in his Jinchuriki seal was the furthest thing from a devil that Naruto could think of. Yes, well, thank you. Anyway, I've said my piece. I hope you put this information to good use, and I hope Lord Tsuchikage doesn't reject the information and advice purely on the basis that it comes from the son of the Yellow Flash. Naruto said as he walked past the Tsuchikage contingent. Oh, and good luck for the examinations. I'm looking forward to seeing you in action during the final round. I have no doubt that you will make it. Naruto said confidently, stopping briefly in order to say his piece before carrying on walking towards the Raikage Tower. We still have an hour and a half before the exams. We'll be waiting for you right here. We want to hear the verdict of your meeting. Kuretsuchi shouted, Naruto waving his right hand in the affirmative as he carried on walking without turning around to look at Kuretsuchi. Seems like you're starting to warm up to him. That's dangerous. The last thing we can afford is for you of all people to become compromised by the Yondaime Hokage's son. Suzumaki with a grave undertone. The you talking about? I'm not warming up to that, are you out of your mind? If anything, I'm freezing up to him. Kuretsuchi said angrily. Listen, I'm not accusing you, and I'm certainly not blaming you. I've been right by your side the whole time, so I know, he's a very difficult man to hate. However, we must never forget what he is capable of. His father was just as deceptive as he is. He acted kind, open, carefree, and innocent outside of battle, and then turned around and mercilessly slaughtered thousands of people without batting an eyelash. Suzumaki said gravely. You make it sound like you knew the guy personally. Akatsuchi said, confused. I've heard the stories from those who survived just like anyone else. My father told me stories. Suzumaki said darkly. Whatever. Look, I know killing him is important, but I'd like to think that preventing our Jinchuriki from being taken is just as important, if not more so. So let's just wait and see what the has to say when he comes back from his meeting with Lord Reikage. Kuretsuchi retorted. Very well. Let us wait. Suzumaki replied plainly. 15 minutes later. Hey you don't look so good. I would have expected the meeting to be a bit longer. Kuretsuchi said hesitantly, looking at the blonde Uzumaki with concern as he looked like someone just kicked his puppy. It didn't go so well. Lord Reikage had no interest in anything I had to say. He thinks I'm overreacting and he thinks there is no way his Jinchuriki would lose and get captured. He's letting his pride get in the way of what must be done. I understand rejecting the joint ninja village task force idea but not to even provide backup for the Jinchuriki. Just because it was my suggestion. Naruto said with a pained look in his eyes, deeply concerned about the well-being of the Kumogakure Jinchuriki. What are you going to do now? Kuretsuchi asked curiously. I don't know. I guess I've got about a month to come up with something, so we'll see. Naruto said tiredly, apparently emotionally drained from his meeting with the Reikage. Well, that's not good. Grandpa is just as stubborn as Lord Reikage, maybe even more so. I was hoping we could use Lord Reikage's acceptance as way to convince him. Without his acceptance, Kuretsuchi trailed off morbidly. Maybe we do not need their acceptance, maybe it's the acceptance of the Jinchuriki that we need. Naruto said thoughtfully. What do you mean, Namikaze-san? Kitsuchi asked curiously. Well, I'm gonna be around Kumo for a month. Perhaps it's time I made contact with my fellow Jinchuriki. Maybe if they acknowledge the threat of Akatsuki, then they can appeal to Lord Reikage to have teams allocated to them. Naruto said with a small smile, looking like he had a little more hope than he did before. I see. It's not going to be easy, especially if they are just as stubborn as Lord Reikage, but it's worth a shot. There really is nothing to lose. Kitsuchi said with a big smile, for some reason that he couldn't understand, finding himself genuinely trying to cheer up the blonde Uzumaki. Yeah, I mean I already met Yugito-chan, she seemed cool and approachable. Hey actually, I seem to recall she said we could hang out if I survived my Jonin exam. Naruto said excitedly, unable to believe that he had actually forgotten about that. Hang out? Hang out and do what? Where did you even meet her? Kuretsuchi asked hastily. She came to my hotel room the other day. Naruto replied. What? You're married. How dare you treat your wives like that? Kuretsuchi asked indignantly. What? No, it's nothing like that. She came to get an updated picture of me for the promotion pictures. You remember what my Genin license picture looks like, right? Naruto laughed. I see, well, that's good. But you're still sleazy, Kuretsuchi said stubbornly. And no more meeting together in hotel rooms. That's not something a married man should do. Kuretsuchi chastised the blonde Uzumaki. Yes mom, Naruto said mischievously. What did you say? I'm gonna. Kuretsuchi trailed off as Naruto disappeared via Shunshin technique, giving Kuretsuchi a big smile and thumbs up just before he disappeared. Arg, bastard. Kuretsuchi exclaimed angrily. You sure are concerned about Namikaze-san's marital status for someone who hates his guts. Suzumaki said with a raised eyebrow. I'm not looking out for him, I'm looking out for his wives. Kuretsuchi retorted. The wives whose guts you hate. Suzumaki countered. I'm getting really sick of your judgment and accusations, Suzumaki, Kuretsuchi trailed off with a threatening undertone. I'm just trying to look out for you. I'm young Kuretsuchi, not naive. I know emotions don't always follow a logical conclusion. The heart wants what it wants. I'm concerned that Namikaze-san is worming his way into your heart. I don't want that for you. He's our sworn enemy and he is married to 2 women already. It can only end in tragedy, especially since we're still waiting for feedback from Tsuchikage-sama about that thing. Enough, Suzumaki. This is not the time or place to talk about that. For now, focus on the task ahead of you. The Chunin exams begin in just over an hour. Focus on that and forget about everything else. Kitsuchi said with authority. Hi, Kitsuchi-sensei. The Kamizuru heiress said submissively. Good, let's go. 45 minutes later. Ah, if it isn't sweet Yugito-chan. Imagine, me walking around the whole village looking for the food of the gods, only for the gods to lead me to you. Surely it must be fate. Naruto said as he entered the Stormbreaker ramen stand, feigning surprise at seeing Yugito there even though he had already sensed her chakra long before he got there. Namikaze-san, the last person I want to be seen with in public. Yugito greeted calmly, not even turning around to look at Naruto as she carried on eating her ramen. Now Yugito-chan, don't be like that. You promised you and I could spend some quality time together if I survived my Jonin exam. You're a woman of your word, aren't you? Naruto asked with an all too innocent tone as he sat right next to her, causing a tick mark to appear on Yugito's forehead. Bastard. Quality time together. Why you gotta make me sound like some groupie skank? Yugito thought irritably. As I recall, I said we could be friends, nothing more, nothing less. Yugito said with a cool and composed tone, even though all she really wanted to do was to strangle the bastard Namikaze right now. Ui, order something or get thee out of my establishment, idiot. The longer you stay here the more goodwill I lose with my customers. A beautiful, ebony-skinned woman said as she came closer to Naruto and Yugito, wearing a cooking chef's outfit and spotting purple hair and orange eyes, with a nice and voluptuous figure Naruto couldn't help but notice. Sorry ma'am, that is hardly my intention. Tell you what. Naruto trailed off as he extended his right hand, a ninja scroll with the kanji for 10 million appearing on his hand in a puff of smoke. I'll give you 10 million ryu up front if you let me, my friends, and my comrades eat here whenever we want for the next 30 days. That's a more than fair deal, isn't it? Surely it makes up for your lost goodwill. Naruto asked, causing the chef's eyes to widen to epic proportions as she couldn't believe what she was seeing and hearing with her eyes and ears respectively, Yugito dropping her chopsticks as she looked at Naruto like he had grown a whole new head on his shoulders. What? Tem. Is this some sort of ninja trick? The young woman asked angrily. Not at all. You see, I happen to have a soft spot for ramen stand owners. A ramen stand owner and her daughter took pity on a young boy with a demon in his belly. The boy was an orphan, and was hated and mistreated by everyone because of the demon inside of him. Restaurants and retailers either charged him 10 times the normal price for products or outright refused to serve him. The boy would have died of starvation and gone mad with loneliness and lack of companionship were it not for a humble ramen stand owner and his daughter. Naruto said, pausing slightly in order to allow the chef to digest the information. So, as you can imagine, this boy, now a young man, has not only developed a soft spot for ramen stand owners, but is also acutely aware of the sacrifice of goodwill one has to make in order to serve him. The reasons are different, but the result is the same. Naruto said nostalgically. Tem, how do you expect me to accept this money after making me look like a villain? I'm nothing compared to your ramen stand owner and his daughter, I'm basically a piece of shit compared to them. The chef said, ashamed of her behavior. A real piece of shit would not reject the money, and would not think themselves a piece of shit. Besides, like my home village restaurant owners, you didn't beat me up, call me a demon, tell me I deserve to die, charge me over the top prices, or simply refuse to serve me. You were still willing to serve me since I was already here, and you were upfront and honest about your reasons for not wishing to serve me in the future. So, don't sell yourself too short, Chef-san. You'll be a real piece of shit if you reject my generosity though. Naruto said with a mischievous smirk. Bastard. You really know how to pull on a person's strings, don't you? Fine, whatever, do as you wish. The chef said as she took the scroll. What shall I make for you then? She asked politely. 3 bowls of miso ramen, 3 bowls of pork ramen, 3 bowls of beef ramen, and 3 bowls of ramen deluxe. Naruto ordered excitedly, causing the chef to face plant at the ludicrous order. He's just like Yugito-sama and B-sama. The beautiful chef thought incredulously. Why yeah, let me quickly get to work on that. The chef said as she ran to the kitchen, realizing that her assistants were definitely going to need her help on this one. Interesting story. Was that meant for me or for Nigai-san? Yugito asked suspiciously. Both I guess. Naruto deadpanned. I see. Is it true? Was your life really like that? I find it hard to believe the son of the Yondaime Hokage who saved Konoha from the 9-tailed demon fox would be treated with such hate and disdain. Yugito counter-argued. I didn't know I was his son until a couple of years ago, which is also when I found out I was the Jinchuriki of the 9-tailed demon fox. I was lied to and deceived all my life by Sandaime-sama. I found out from a traitor who tried to assassinate me before he defected from the village that I was the 9-tailed demon fox, and I found out on my own that I am the son of the Yondaime Hokage. Can you imagine if I had come here without knowing, the surprise of hearing from you guys and the Iwagakure guys that I am the Yellow Flash's son when no one in my own village ever disclosed that very important information to me? Naruto asked incredulously. That would have been embarrassing, and infuriating. Still, I find it hard to believe you took so long to figure it out. I mean, one look at you is all it takes. The apple didn't fall far from the tree at all. Yugito retorted. Well, I was an idiot, admittedly. Naruto deadpanned, a comfortable silence settling in between the two Jinchuriki. Do you hate them? All the people that kept this secret from you? All the people that allowed you to suffer from lack of identity, making believe you were a clan-less orphan all your life? Allowing you to live like a dog on the streets, hated and mistreated by everyone when they could have done so much more to make your life a better experience? Yugito asked curiously, and also manipulatively, as she wanted to bring out those negative emotions from Naruto in order to see if he couldn't be manipulated into defecting from Konoha and joining Kumogakure no Sato. I did. When I found out about the Kyuubi, I was too underdeveloped both emotionally and mentally in order to grasp the true depths of what was done to me. But when I found out about my father, I was angry and hateful. I even contemplated destroying Konoha and wiping it out of the map. However, it's not that simple as it. This is the same village my father and mother loved dearly, and sacrificed their own lives, and even sacrificed me in order to protect. If I destroyed it, I would be destroying their legacy and spitting on their sacrifices. Naruto said, taking a small breather in order to organize his thoughts and emotions before carrying on from where he left off. Soon after that, I met Fu-chan, and then I met Tayuya-chan. I found people that genuinely loved me and cared about me unconditionally, and people that I too love and care about unconditionally. Love is the antithesis of hate, so I guess you could say that they cured me of any residual hate or resentment I might have been holding onto. I want them to be safe and I want them to live as peaceful an existence as possible. I can build that life for them in Konoha, and as Rokudaime Hokage, I can make sure that Konoha becomes the kind of place that they can be proud to call home. Naruto explained truthfully, leaving out however the diabolical part of his plan, which was that his ascension was meant to be the beginning phase of the Uzumaki takeover of the village, as he intended to groom his descendants to be the future leaders of Konoha and to basically turn Konoha into their personal army. After all, why fight them, when you can just take over their village and use them for your benefit? I see. You are a noble man, Namikaze-san. If your father was anything like you, then I can see why he has such a stellar reputation in the ninja world. Yugito said, paying Naruto what had to be the highest compliment one could possibly have in the ninja world. Thank you, Yugito-chan. That means a lot to me. Although try not to say anything like that in front of Kuretsuchi, she is convinced that my father was an actual devil. Naruto said as the chef, Nigai, quickly put 3 bowls of miso ramen in front of Naruto, whispering that the other bowls would follow soon, whispering because she could tell that the two Jinchuriki were in deep conversation. Hee. I don't want to laugh because I understand where she is coming from, but still. Yugito laughed softly, Naruto unable to believe that he had just made the stoic ice queen of all people laugh. Hee. You should laugh a little more often, Yugito-chan, you have a wonderful laugh, almost angelic even. Well, at least what I imagine an angel would sound like if it laughed, a female angel of course. Naruto made sure to emphasize at the end, causing Yugito to laugh a little louder at how ridiculous a person had to be to feel the need to clarify something so obvious. Thank you Naruto-kun, I appreciate that. No one has ever complimented me like that before. Yugito said with a warm smile. She called me Naruto. And this is the first time she has called me by name, isn't it? She also said kun. She must be warming up to me. Naruto thought with a shit-eating grin. Yeah. I mean, I'm just telling the truth how I see it, that's all. Naruto said with a casual shrug, not wanting to show how happy he was, another comfortable silence settling in as Naruto finished his third bowl in record time. So, why did you track me down? I know you said you were looking for a ramen stand, but I also know that you passed 2 blocks away before you came to this one. Is there something you wanted to say to me, besides the fact that apparently I have the laugh of an angel? Yugito asked curiously. Nothing flies past you, does it? So you've been keeping track of my chakra signature, huh? Didn't know you liked me that much, Yugito-chan. Naruto retorted. Nice try, but I'm not letting you skip out on answering my question. Come now, speak up Naruto-kun. Yugito egged on, at this point comfortable enough in her knowledge of what kind of person Naruto was that she knew that, even if had some sort of angle he was playing, it probably wasn't anything sinister. Well, I went to see Lord Raikage about, Naruto began as he told Yugito everything he knew about Akatsuki, about his encounters with their members, and about his proposal to Lord Raikage, and of course, the fact that Lord Raikage rejected his proposal and in fact was completely dismissive about every warning Naruto gave him regarding Akatsuki, Yugito spotting a deep, thoughtful expression at the end of Naruto's explanation. I see. It certainly sounds like these guys are dangerous. However, B-sama is a perfect Jinchuriki and I'm also very close to complete mastery. Do you really think Akatsuki pose that much of a threat to us, especially if they only travel in 2-man cells? Yugito asked skeptically. I do. These guys aren't normal shinobi, they are monsters. Kisame Dono is called a tailless Biju for a reason, and Itachi is a descendant of Uchiha Madara, the same Madara who tamed the 9-tailed fox and used it against Shadaime-sama Senju Hashirama. Do not underestimate the ocular powers of the Uchiha. Naruto said gravely. I see. So what exactly do you want me to do? Yugito asked curiously. B-Dono already has a team from what I understand. So I need you to convince him to take Akatsuki seriously and prepare himself and his team to do battle against them. I also need you to convince him to never fight Akatsuki alone and do it with his team. Secondly, I need you to petition Raikage Dono to form a highly skilled and competent team for you, and to ensure that he never sends you or B-Dono on a solo mission again. It will be better if you have already got B-Dono on board when you make this petition. 2 against 1 is better than 1 against 1. Naruto suggested. I'm trying to figure out what you could possibly gain from this, but I can't see it. Why would you want to help us for seemingly no benefit whatsoever to you? Yugito asked curiously. There are too many reasons to list, but the most important one is that I care, of course. I don't want you to die, Yugito-chan, certainly not alone in the world in some far-off land. Living a life of solitude is one thing, but also dying alone, being hunted like a dog just because of what you are. I cannot accept that, Naruto said sincerely. I see. You certainly are one of a kind, Naruto-kun. I promise you, I will leave no stone unturned. I will do everything in my power to convince Raikage-sama. You have my word, Yugito said with a happy smile, a smile that fully reached her eyes, for the first time since she couldn't even remember. Good. I'll hold you to that. Naruto said jovially, the two enjoying each other's company for another 2 hours before they went their separate ways. 39 days later. Wow, never thought the 7 ninja swordsmen would have all been eliminated in the quarter-finals. I thought there would have been at least one of them in the semi-finals. Instead it's 2 Kumogakure ninja and 2 Iwagakure ninja. Naruto thought. It's not like the Kiri Genin were weak, they were incredible really. In fact, I expect that everyone who participated today will be promoted regardless of whether they won or lost. Jiraiya said, impressed by the high level of these Chunin exams, as he was convinced that everyone that fought today was, in terms of skill and ability, at least an elite Jonin level ninja. Just as importantly, 3 of the 4 finalists are kunoichi and only one of them is a shinobi. This is unprecedented. I don't think something like this has ever happened before. I think this, along with the fact that 2 of the 4 Kage are women, is the beginning of the turnover that will give kunoichi equal respect and status in the shinobi world as men have. Naruto observed. Che. It should have been the case all along. Bunch of insecure dipshits. Yuya said angrily, Naruto rolling his eyes as he wondered if he was one of these insecure dipshits, seeing as she always called him dipshit. She really needs to start taking her vocabulary seriously. Naruto thought, seeing as was the future wife of the Rokudaime Hokage. The first match of the semi-final is about to begin. It's Yatsuki Karui vs Kamizuru Suzumaki. Fu said as she pointed at the big screen, showing images of Karui and Suzumaki and highlights of their previous battles. Who do you think is going to win, dipshit? Yuya asked curiously. Karui is a sensor type, that means that all of Suzumbaki's ambush bug jutsu aren't going to work. Karui will always be aware of the position of the bugs at all times. Genjutsu probably doesn't work on Karui when she activates her lightning style, lightning fashion technique. Thus, the battle is going to come down to physical abilities, in other words, a taijutsu and/or kenjutsu battle. Naruto said analytically. That still doesn't answer my question, Yuya said irritably. I don't know. Suzumbaki's nano bug technique is incredible. Creating nano bugs in the first place is insane, and having billions of them in your body boosting your chakra release and activity provides an incredible boost of speed and power. But Karui's jutsu is incredible too. I reckon that Karui is slightly faster and Suzumbaki is slightly stronger. Durability is debatable. We all know about the strong bodies of the Yatsuki clan, but the nano bugs not only enhance Suzumbaki's durability but they also rapidly heal her injuries. Perhaps endurance and stamina is where the battle will truly be decided. Naruto concluded his hypothesis. Sounds like a classic evenly matched battle then. Well anyway, we're about to find out, aren't we? The battle is beginning, Jiraiya said as everyone refocused their attention on the arena. To hell with you, Tem. Do you Suchi bastards actually believe that we would ever allow a foreign ninja to win the Chunin exams in our own home turf? Go eat a rock hard somewhere, Tem. Karui said as she activated her lightning release. Lightning fashion technique, a technique that caused her to literally groan boots and gloves made of pure lightning on her legs and on her feet, the boots reaching all the way above her knees and the gloves reaching all the way above her elbows. That's quite an impression level of chakra shape manipulation. The boots and gloves look like solid objects that she put on her limbs instead of chakra, Naruto thought, impressed. Hey, we'll see about that, you foul-mouthed Suzumbaki exclaimed as her chakra spiked heavily, using her nano bugs to exercise precise and perfect chakra control whilst also getting a significant chakra boost from her bugs. Hajime! Dodai exclaimed from the other side of the barrier. The battle kicking off immediately, as if the 2 kunoichi were reacting to the stop gun that is used in the sport of athletics. Both of them moving at ridiculous speed as they clashed repeatedly in a deadly and yet majestic dance. Not that the spectators could see, of course, as 99% of them had no idea what was going on, the fight being fought at a speed that was far too great for most ninjas' eyes to follow. However, many of the spectators commenting about how Karui took after her cousin Darui and her uncle Yatsuki the 4th Raikage, because of her strength and her speed, at the same time all of them surprised that Suzumbaki could keep up with Karui's speed. Still, being fast enough and strong enough to match Karui was not good enough, nor did having great sensory skills thanks to her nano bugs, as even that was negated by Karui's own sensory abilities. What truly separated the 2 of them, contrary to what Naruto thought, was not the stamina of the 2 fighters but the difference in taijutsu skill, as Karui, utilizing the Yatsuki nintaijutsu style that had been developed over multiple generations, had superior taijutsu skill than Suzumbaki. Just as Naruto expected, the nano bugs were able to rapidly heal Suzumbaki's injuries, but not fast enough apparently, as Karui's attack speed was such that the bugs couldn't keep up with the damage. As a result, there was a slight drop-off in speed on the part of Suzumbaki, which allowed Karui to catch her in a submission hold, putting her in an ankle lock and forcing her to submit or get her ankle shattered into smithereens, Suzumbaki having no choice but to submit as she knew that even if she resisted and took the pain, her ankle would not recover in time, and in the time it took for the nano bugs to heal it, Karui would have put her in another submission hold and broken another body part. What made matters worse was that she could not send her nano bugs into Karui's body because the lightning oscillations were killing her nano bugs by the millions, maybe even billions at a time. Ultimately, she had no choice but to forfeit the match and leave everything in Kuretsuchi's hands unfortunately. Winner: Yatsuki Karui. Dodai announced, loud cheers reverberating throughout the Kumo-based crowd as the home crowd celebrated the fact that they knew that at least one of the finalists would be one of their own. The hell is Bidono doing? Naruto thought as he watched the Eight Tails Jinchuriki doing some weird dance movements that Naruto didn't understand. Naruto concluding that he was dancing both to the loud hip-hop beat that was now playing in the arena and also celebrating Karui's victory. Now it's going to be Kuretsuchi vs Yatsuki Omoi. Should be interesting. Naruto thought curiously, having seen that Kuretsuchi could not only fly at a crazy speed using her particle release but could also use her particle release to make herself lighter so that she could move faster when using shunshin or foot speed, and then increase the density of her body exponentially at the point of impact, causing her attacks to have a devastating impact. I have to defeat her quickly. What if her particle release gets out of control and she disintegrates everyone in the arena? What if she makes everyone in the arena too light and everyone floats until they exit the atmosphere and go into space where they freeze and die? What if Omoi was broken from his crazy thoughts by the sound of Kuretsuchi's voice, Omoi widening in surprise when he realized that Kuretsuchi was already high in the air, not having noticed when she started flying as he had been caught up in his own crazy theories. Don't think for 1 second I'm letting you Kumo Shinobi get your way. I don't care if you're the home ground participant, I'm not going easy on you. Kuretsuchi said with determination, Omoi just looking at her with a dumb facial expression, as if he was lost in thought, which in fact was the case as he was painting some other crazy speculation in his mind. Hajime! Dodai exclaimed, Kuretsuchi immediately going through a number of hand seals before activating her jutsu. Lava release, quick lime congealing technique. Kuretsuchi exclaimed as she spat out an extremely large amount of quick lime from her mouth in the direction of Omoi. Raiden, Shunko no Justu. Omoi exclaimed as his entire body was illuminated by an incredible amount of lightning chakra, similar to the Raikage's lightning armor but far less controlled and focused, the lightning around him looking like it wanted to lash at everything in its surroundings, like it was wild and untamed, or even like it had a mind of its own. Yet, the jutsu performed the function that it was supposed to. As it boosted Omoi's speed significantly and also his offensive and defensive power. Omoi able to easily avoid a direct hit, which didn't help much as Kuretsuchi followed up with a water technique that caused the quick lime to spread all over the battleground, leaving Omoi with nowhere to run as he eventually had to stand on top of the quick lime, which quickly solidified around his feet in order to keep him in place and prevent him from using his speed, but to no avail as Omoi blasted the cement away with his Shunko no Jutsu. Kuso. That stupid flash war cry technique is troublesome. But he cannot attack me from high up here, so I'll just bombard him with long-range jutsu until he has nowhere to rue. What? Kuretsuchi trailed off as Omoi did the unthinkable, propelling himself towards her by bending his knees and pushing himself hard, so much so that he left a crater on the ground and he came barreling at her at full speed, forcing Kuretsuchi to improvise as she used her explosion release, exploding palm technique to shoot explosive chakra from her palms in order to rapidly propel herself away from Omoi. Having somehow dodged the attack, Kuretsuchi thought that she would be able to launch a counter-attack now that Omoi was airborne and therefore wouldn't be able to use his speed. However, much to her surprise, Omoi had jumped all the way to the roof of the translucent barrier that was erected in order to protect the crowd and bounced off of it, propelling himself downwards towards Kuretsuchi, who had to use the propulsion of her explosion release to get away again. The battle carried on like that for quite a long time, Omoi bouncing non-stop all over the battle arena on the invisible walls of the barrier as he kept up the pressure on Kuretsuchi, making her fight him at a frenetic pace, not allowing Kuretsuchi the chance to even think about mounting a counter-strike as she was too busy trying to prevent herself from being decapitated. Using the protective barrier as a propulsion system in order to attack an airborne opponent. This is taking using the environment to your advantage to another level entirely. Jiraiya thought, both impressed and amused by the turn of events. He has turned an undesirable and unfavorable scenario to his advantage. I bet this is just the kind of thing the examiners look for. Naruto retorted. Yeah, definitely. And it's working. Kuretsuchi doesn't have a chance to form hand seals, all she can do is just barely avoid Omoi's attacks. Fu retorted. It doesn't seem like the bitch is particularly used to using her explosion release in this manner either, she's rapidly burning up a lot of chakra. That bastard Omoi has turned this into a battle of endurance. Yuya said observantly. If it is to remain a battle of endurance, then Kuretsuchi really doesn't stand a chance. The Yotsuki's clan is genetically built for both speed and endurance. They have the qualities of both sprinters and marathon runners combined into one. Fighting at a frenetic pace like this for an extended amount of time is their specialty. Naruto said analytically. Kuretsuchi's has insane versatility, being able to use a 2 Kekkei Genkai and a Kekkei Tota on top of that. Also, as a result of her rich combination of bloodline limits, she has an unnaturally strong and an abnormal amount of chakra. However, being able to fly out of an opponent's range probably means that she has never had to fight under this sort of pressure. She has probably always fought a battle at her own pace and on her own terms. Even if she loses, this should be a valuable experience for her. If she learns from this, she'll be that much more dangerous in the future, and there won't always be a convenient barrier to stop her from flying out of range. Naruto thought analytically, although at the same time thinking that everyone who knows about this battle will probably want to incorporate barriers into their fighting strategy against her in the future. Ultimately, Kuretsuchi was unable to regain an advantage in the battle, and eventually was run down by Omoi and defeated, getting pulverized before being put in an arm-bar submission, forcing her to tap out just like her compatriot, the crowd going crazy as this victory meant that, before even the final battle was fought, Kumogakure won the Chunin exams. Kuso no Yaro. Why didn't you return to the ground and try to use your weighted boulder speed technique? Yuya said in frustration, Naruto realizing that the only reason Yuya wanted Kuretsuchi to win was because she wanted an all-female final, because otherwise there was no way Yuya would support Kuretsuchi given how much those two hated each other. I think she was trying to gradually make her way back to the ground, but Omoi was actively preventing her from doing that. His attack pattern was precise and methodical. He wasn't just attacking randomly. Naruto retorted. So he didn't want her to challenge him directly in a speed battle on the ground. Isn't that like a Yotsuki clan fighter's favorite sport? Fu asked, confused. It is, but, even though Omoi is a Yotsuki to the core, he isn't exactly the typical Yotsuki. He seems much calmer and much more measured in his approach. He's the type that won't change a winning strategy, the if it ain't broke don't fix it kind of guy. Naruto replied. Besides, as a fellow particle release user, I know the limitations of Kuretsuchi's speed technique. You have to constantly switch between two variations of the jutsu. Use the weighted boulder technique to make yourself light so that you can move fast, but then switch at the moment of impact to make yourself dense and heavy in order to increase force of impact. In other words, there is a small lag between the initial attack and the moment of impact, and it can put a strain on the mind and on your reactions when you have to constantly change jutsu. Going up against a guy who moves just as fast or faster, and who doesn't have the lag effect of switching between jutsu puts you at a disadvantage. It probably would have ended in the same result anyway, where Omoi would have had a speed advantage, or at least a reaction time advantage. Fu explained in depth. I didn't even know she was a particle release user. Jiraiya thought warily, wondering just how many other talents his so-called students had that he didn't know about. Well, anyway, that's the end of it, I guess. It doesn't matter who wins the final now. I wonder if they'll even have it. Naruto asked curiously. Lord Musclecage is about to make an announcement. I guess we'll find out now if those two will fight or not. Yuya said as she pointed at the booth where the Raikage was seated along with the Mizukage and the Tsuchikage, who had come over for the final round of the exams. Lord Tsuchikage accompanied by his two Jinchuriki, Han and Roshi, while Lady Mizukage was accompanied by the Six Tails Jinchuriki and one of the 7 ninja swordsmen, Akebi no Jinin. In any case, just as Naruto suspected, the Raikage announced that they wouldn't be having the final match as he had spoken to Omoi and Karui before the finals, and they had said that they would both forfeit if they both made it to the final. The Raikage also explained that even though, as Raikage, he had the authority to order them to fight each other, he would however not go through with it as he respected and even admired the love and bond between family and friends that was shared between Omoi and Karui. The Raikage capped it off by advising everyone to take heart in the fact that Kumogakure had proven its strength by winning the tournament, and announcing that both Omoi and Karui would be named as joint winners of the tournament. Some of the crowd were disgruntled understandably as there had been bets about who would win between the two Kumogakure genin, but for the most part, everyone was just relieved and happy that their village had proven its strength and standing in the shinobi world. There was of course that little bit of an asterisk to it all as Naruto, Fu, and Tayuya had not participated in the tournament, because they had fought against Lord Raikage and his elite guard and Wan, which in a way could imply that Konoha were in fact the victors with Kumo coming in at second place. Nevertheless, no one really had time to think too much about that as the Eight Tails Jinchuriki, Killer Bee, began celebrations immediately, jumping onto the arena and performing his big hit single for that year, a song titled 800 Hell Stabs as the beat to the song started banging, much to the crowd's joy and entertainment. Kumogakure sure has a unique vibe, huh? Naruto said with an amused smirk. Yeah, it's actually kind of cool actually. I like it, Tayuya retorted. You kidding me? This is the best. Fu exclaimed excitedly as she jumped up and started dancing and singing along to the song, fumbling over the words as she didn't know the lyrics, but that typically didn't stop her from enjoying the vibe nonetheless. Hey, you sure know how to pick Gaki. Jiraiya said with a mix of emotions, still honestly not sure if he really trusted these girls and their intentions with his godson. In fact, not even sure he trusted his godson either, but at the same time feeling guilty about the fact that he wasn't happy for his godson and was in fact envious of the bond and trust that he had with these girls, a bond that he didn't think he had at all with his godson. That evening, Jiraiya's hotel room. Naruto, the exams are over. What are we still doing here? Jiraiya asked warily. I have some loose ends to tie up. Give me 2 or 3 days, and then we'll leave. Naruto said calmly. It's because of that skank Yugito-tem, isn't it? Don't look so surprised, I know you have been spending an unhealthy amount of time with her. Tayuya said venomously. You've been stalking me? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Of course I have. I've been waiting for the right time to murder the both of you. Tayuya deadpanned, Jiraiya narrowing his eyes dangerously at her as his fight-or-flight instincts kicked in, although if Tayuya cared or noticed, she did well not to show it at all. You mean you've been meaning to catch us in the act of adultery? Naruto retorted. Same thing, Tayuya deadpanned. Well, I suppose trust is not only earned but natured as well. I seem to have forgotten the nature part. Forgive me, Tayuya-chan, Fu-chan. I did not mean to cause your pain and anxiety. I should have disclosed my intentions to you. You are my beloved and faithful wives after all. Naruto apologized sincerely. Your intentions? Fu asked anxiously, Naruto telling her and the rest of the team about what he and Yugito had been discussing, which was mainly a number of ways to persuade the Raikage to take Akatsuki seriously and allocate adequate protection for Yugito and B. What? That's what you've been doing? All those long walks and lunch dates, and that's all you were talking about? Tayuya asked incredulously. Yeah, Naruto deadpanned. Wow, dipshit is a total idiot. He really hasn't noticed how much she has the hots for him. I was worried about nothing after all. Tayuya thought incredulously, triggering her memories as she remembered that actually, both Fu and Naruto were total idiots, as it was she who had eventually had to initiate everything in order for there to be a romantic relationship between the three of them. I see. So you want to protect the other Jinchuriki, even if they are from enemy villages? Fu asked, breaking Tayuya from her musings. I do. Naruto deadpanned, causing a wide smile to appear on Fu's facial features. That's awesome. Is there anything I can do to help? Fu asked excitedly, her mood doing a complete 180 degrees, which of course was very typical of her. No, not really. Yugito-chan and I have pretty much exhausted every possible angle. Lord Raikage is quite a stubborn mule, I have to say. And if we couldn't convince him, I doubt there is any way Kuretsuchi can convince Lord Tsuchikage. From what I hear, he is even more stubborn. Naruto said thoughtfully. Wait, you even roped in the Tsuchikage granddaughter into this. How the hell did you do that? That little girl hates your guts. Jiraiya said incredulously. That she does. However, she loves her village even more, and loves power just as much. She cannot stand the very idea of her village losing two of its prized military assets. Also, Roshi and Hondono are her uncles. They're family to her. Obviously she doesn't want them to die. Naruto explained. He's always been good at looking into people's hearts and seeing exactly what is in there, even when he was a naive, immature brat. But now that he is wiser and more experienced, he is even better at getting people to do what he wants or needs them to do. It's a very dangerous ability in the wrong hands, the ability to compel even your enemies to move how you want them to move. Jiraiya thought warily. I see. So you're giving it your best shot for another 3 days? Jiraiya asked curiously. Well, as of right now, there are 7 Jinchuriki in the village. I don't think that has ever happened before. I think maybe Fu-chan and I should try to get to know our kin. I haven't spoken directly to Lord Kurabi since I got here, and I want to speak to the Rokubi Jinchuriki and the Jinchuriki from Iwa. It may not help much, but it may also be that little bit of extra knowledge and precaution that saves their lives. Naruto explained. And what about our exit strategy? We still do not have one. I don't believe for 1 second that the Tsuchikage bringing both his Jinchuriki here is a coincidence. He's up to something, Jiraiya said suspiciously. It's not a coincidence. They're planning to ambush us. He has the rest of his ninja force stationed 400 miles away, and the direction that one would take if they were headed to Konoha from here. He's probably going for a pincer move. I suspect that he, the 2 Jinchuriki, and Kuretsuchi's team will follow us when we leave and they'll close us in from behind and in front of us. Naruto said as if merely talking about the weather forecast. 400 miles away. How do you know that? Did you send a shadow clone as a scout? Jiraiya asked curiously, wondering why he hadn't considered taking such an action. No, I used my chakra sensory skills. There are 200 Iwa Jonin waiting for us. Naruto explained. You can sense people from 800 kilometers away. Jiraiya asked in disbelief. Yes. Naruto deadpanned, leaving a speechless Jiraiya in his wake. So, what's the plan? Kick their butts and slaughter them all? Tayuya asked with a sadistic smirk. That would be an unnecessary risk. We'll use the toads to reverse summon ourselves to a secure location. Jiraiya-sensei, I'll leave the logistics of that up to you. Naruto said with authority. That's actually just what I was thinking. Leave it to me, Jiraiya replied. Really? Won't like the toads have to swallow for us to be reverse summoned with them? Why can't we just fly out of here? Fu whined petulantly. We're not the only ones who can fly, idiot. Kuretsuchi and her grandfather can fly too, and apparently they can make others fly as well. It's totally pointless, they'll just turn it into an aerial battle. Tayuya retorted. So it's settled then, toad reverse summoning it is. Naruto said with finality. They're talking about flying as if it's something that just anyone can do. Sure, Naruto briefly displayed the ability to fly in his fight against Unruly Eye, but I didn't think it was something he could do over long distance or for any extended amount of time. Can all 3 of them really fly? And if so, how? And for how long? Jiraiya thought, confused and concerned as it seemed like these kids had abilities far beyond comprehension, abilities that could certifiably make them legends in the shinobi world. Now, would any of you like to accompany me to dinner with Lady Mizukage and her entourage at her hotel suite? I've been invited. Naruto asked as if he was just talking about dinner at Ichiraku's ramen stand. What the hell does that evil succubus want? Tayuya asked angrily. I'm sure she just wants to talk about the Kubikiribocho and the Byakugan. Naruto replied. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Sounds great to me, let's go. Fu said excitedly. Are you moron serious? What if we get poisoned or something? Jiraiya asked incredulously, confused when Fu, Naruto, and Tayuya started laughing at him. I must be losing my sense of humor in my old age, or there must be a new sense of humor that was discovered in your generation because in my era, death by poisoning was not a laughing matter. Jiraiya said irritably, unable to comprehend the sheer stupidity of his students. Poison doesn't work on us. We're pretty much immune, Fu said jovially. What? Is it because you and Naruto are Jinchuriki? What about Tayuya then? She's not a Jinchuriki, Jiraiya said incredulously. But she's an Uzumaki who has mastered her healing and regenerative bloodline limit, and she's a master of the cursed seal. She'll be fine, Naruto said casually. So it's true, she really is an Uzumaki. And Naruto not only knows about his father but also knows about the Uzumaki clan as well. Which means he probably knows about his mother somehow. Jiraiya thought, wanting to ask how Naruto knew all of this but also knowing all too well that it would open another can of worms, which was, of course, that why had he, Tsunade, and Sarutobi-sensei kept this information from him? So we're going then? Naruto asked rhetorically. I don't have immunity to poisons, so I guess I'll be your scout or something. Jiraiya replied, feeling a little left out in all honesty. Arg, don't worry, Naruto-kun will cure and heal you if you get poisoned. He's extremely good at that stuff. No one dies around him, unless he wants them to foo. Fu laughed diabolically, causing Jiraiya to sweat drop at her unstable behavior, as if he was ever going to stake his life on the words of someone like her. Thanks, but I think I'll pass. Jiraiya said dismissively. No, you'll have to be with us. Your name and reputation will be an essential weapon in these negotiations. It can't be just all kids there to negotiate with Lady Mizukage. At least one adult is necessary. Make a reinforced shadow clone if you're so worried about poisoning. Naruto said uncompromisingly. A reinforced shadow clone, huh? Sounds like a plan. It won't be easy for them to tell that it's a shadow clone if I put at least 75% of my chakra in it. But that will leave me vulnerable if I am attacked while my clone is in negotiations with you. Jiraiya said with concern. I'll summon 2 battle toads to keep you company. Naruto deadpanned, wondering why Jiraiya was stressing about things that were no-brainers. Fine, I suppose that will have to do. 45 minutes later, Mizukage's hotel suite. I must say Mizukage-sama, this is quite an exquisite setup you've got going here. Naruto said as he stared in awe at the setup, impressed at how the Mizukage had turned her hotel suite into some kind of royal dining hall, all sorts of cuisines on display on the long and elegant-looking dining table. Thank you Namikaze-kun, but you, and only you, may call me Mei-chan if you so please. The Mizukage said with a sultry tone, causing a tick mark to appear onto Yuya's forehead, pissed off at the total disrespect of the Mizukage, to dare to flirt with a man right in front of his wives. Mei is a tall, slim-figured yet voluptuous woman with fair skin. She has green eyes, and ankle-length, auburn hair styled into a herringbone pattern at the back, a top knot tied with a dark blue band, and with 4 bangs at the front. 2 bangs are short, with one covering her right eye, and 2 are long, crossing each other on her bust, just below her chin. She is wearing a long-sleeved, dark blue dress that falls just below the knees. The dress is closed at the front with a zipper, and is kept open on the front right side from the waist down. The dress only covers up to the upper part of her arms and the underside. Underneath, she is wearing a mesh armor that covers slightly more of her upper body than her dress. She is also wearing a skirt in the same color as her dress and, underneath those, mesh leggings reaching down over her knees. Around her waist, she is wearing a belt with a pouch attached to the back on the left along with high-heeled sandals, shin guards reaching up over her knees, dark blue nail polish on her fingers and toes, and is usually shown with purple lipstick. Mei-chan huh? Naruto said, allowing the name to roll off of his tongue. Yes Namikaze-kun, I, Terumi Mei, would be pleased if you would call me by my given name as opposed to my title. Granted it is no mere title, as it is one of great significance and meaning, but these titles and positions tend to create a barrier that hinders natural, human communication. I would very much like for you and I to have a natural, positive, human experience together Namikaze-kun, to form a bond between one good human and another. Mei said elegantly. Whoa, she's smooth. So this is how an experienced woman ensnares a man in her trap huh? Wow, scary. Fu said in awe, the Mizukage's subordinates all gritting their teeth in anger at Fu's insinuation but all of them knowing better than to act without her signal, even though they really wanted to act. Idiot. What are you, 7? You'll sabotage negotiations before they even begin with your loud mouth. Jiraiya said with exasperation. Huh, loud mouth my foot. She's just telling the truth. Who would have thought that Mizukage-sama was such a succubus? Have you no shame, Tem? Trying to seduce a man right in front of his wives. Yuya said with an accusatory finger pointed at the Mizukage, much to the increasing ire of the Mizukage's subordinates. If it isn't Uzumaki Tayuya, Uzumaki Fu, and Jiraiya of the legendary Sannin. I am honored to meet your acquaintance. Please, sit, and enjoy the wonderful delicacies that I have prepared for you from all over the world. Mei said as she waved her arm over the long dining table, if she cared at all about Tayuya's insults, doing well not to show it. Thank you, Mizukage Dono. And please accept my apologies for the naive and insensitive behavior of my students. They are still too young, and stupid, to appreciate the nuances of diplomacy. Jiraiya said as he ushered the two girls towards the dining table, making sure to do so before they could even think to say anything rude again. Mei-chan, it doesn't seem like there are enough seats for us all here. Naruto said with a raised eyebrow. You and I will be dining in interconnecting room on the other side, just the two of us, while our subordinates and comrades dine on this side of the suite. I have learned that a lot more can be done in a one-on-one discussion in 1 hour than can be done in 10 hours in a panel. Mei said with a sinister and yet seductive smirk on her facial features, sauntering forward until she was standing right in front of Naruto before snaking her left arm around his right arm. What the fuck, Tayuya was about to say before Jiraiya put his hands around her mouth and pulled her back down to her seat. Imbecile. I know how you feel, but you need to trust your husband. You know what kind of man Naruto is. He would never trample all over your honor. Jiraiya said hastily, relieved when Tayuya seemed to have gotten the message as she started to settle down, up until Jiraiya was confident that she wouldn't chop off the Mizukage's head if he let her go. Tayuya-chan, Fu-chan, sensei is right. You are my beloved wives, the queens of my heart, my soul mates. Believe in me, Naruto said with a serious tone, both Tayuya and Fu swallowing lumps down their throats, intimidated by Naruto's tone and demeanor, especially as it wasn't a tone he usually took up with them unless they were seriously screwing up. Yeah, whatever. There better be enough food to last until you come back, you piece of shit good-for-nothing husband. Tayuya mumbled under her breath, Fu only able to master a nod in the affirmative as she didn't trust her voice right now. Thank you. Please, lead the way, Mizukage Dono. Naruto said with the same tone, Mei a little disheartened by the fact that Naruto had reverted back to calling her by her title but similarly not able to master the courage to protest, at least not right at that moment. She would have to bring it up later though when Naruto was a little less intense, choosing rather to focus on escorting him to their private suite and making sure not only to close but also to lock the door behind her. This is where you and I will be dining, Namikaze-kun. Mei said as she gestured towards the intimate dining setting. A table that was clearly meant for two people only with expensive wine and cuisine on the table, Naruto nodding his head in the affirmative as he reverse summoned the Kubikiribocho into a seal on his left forearm, the sword disappearing in a poofing sound as it released a puff of smoke, the sound and the smoke causing Mei to jump far away from Naruto at an impressive speed, a speed and reaction worthy of the title of Kage Naruto thought. Do not be alarmed Mizukage-sama, I was merely putting away my sword so that I may be able to sit down. In hindsight I should have given you forewarning of my intentions, for that, I sincerely apologize. Naruto said as he seated himself, waiting patiently for the Mizukage to join him at the dining table, Mei narrowing her eyes in displeasure, not at all pleased by how things were proceeding as nothing was going according to plan at all. Please, Mizukage-sama, sit. We have much to discuss. Naruto said as he gestured towards the table. I thought I made it clear that you can call me Mei-chan, Namikaze-kun. Mei said as she sat down on the seat opposite of Naruto. Yes, and I was happy to oblige, before you disrespected my beloved wives. I did not take kindly to that, but I also did not want to say or do anything that might embarrass you in front of your subordinates. However, now that we are alone, I would like to address that before we dine and certainly before we talk business. Naruto said in a clear, concise, and professional manner. If you do not fancy me, or you find me to be too, woman, for you, then be plain and clear about it Namikaze-kun, instead of trying to humiliate me with false accusations. Mei said, gone the sweet and salty tone she had before, replaced with the fury and wrath of a woman scorned. False accusations? Naruto asked, confused. My people have been monitoring your movements. For just over a month now, you have been seen openly taking long intimate walks with the Nibi Jinchuriki, going on dates together in public places, and you have even been seen walking her home afterwards. You've even had a picnic with her. Why is it okay for you to openly pursue an intimate relationship with Yugito but not with me? Mei asked with a calm fury in her tone, giving Naruto a look that would turn a lesser man into minced meat. I see. Well, I must say that this is shocking information for me. I was unaware that that is what people thought I was doing with Yugito-chan. I won't deny a physical attraction. After all, she is one of the most beautiful and appealing women in the world as far as I am concerned, nor will I deny an emotional bond, because after all, we are kindred spirits. However, I assure Mizukage-sama, there is nothing romantic going on, at least not intentionally. Yugito-chan and I have been discussing serious, life-and-death business which I intend to discuss with you two immediately after we have concluded the Byakugan and Kubikiribocho negotiations. Naruto said apologetically, Mei sizing him up carefully and meticulously before finally relenting, deciding to give the blonde-haired Konoha genin the benefit of the doubt. So you really haven't done anything or intimate with ni Yugito-san? Mei asked disbelievingly. We haven't even held hands, much less kissed or made love to each other. I understand that, as the last of my clan, I have the right to marry up to 5 women according to Konoha clan law, and my beloved wives are aware of that. However, if I were to try and add another party to our marriage, I would have to first discuss it with them and the woman would have to be approved by them. In any case, I'm not really focused on that right now. There's some serious threats to my well-being that I would like to eliminate first before I can think about family expansion. Naruto replied. That's not good enough for me, Namikaze-kun. I was hoping to seal an alliance between our 2 villages through marriage, between you and I. I have heard of your great exploits and what kind of man you are. I have done some serious background research too and found out that, at just the age of 12, you defeated the Ikibi, Shukaku, and saved Konoha. I also know about your dream to become Hokage and your lineage. I know that sealing the marriage through me, the Mizukage, and you, the future Hokage, would be at an unbreakable alliance treaty. Mei retorted. That's not a problem, Mei-chan. However, as I said before, any union between me and another woman would have to be approved by my wives. You have disrespected my wives and as things stand, they wouldn't even need to think about it, they would reject your request immediately. Naruto said plainly, Mei's heart fluttering at the fact that Naruto called her Mei-chan again, meaning that he had either forgiven her or was at least considering it, but also feeling stupid at her earlier blunder as she had now decreased her chances of securing the alliance and getting the perfect husband for herself, a man worthy of her, at last. So then, are you saying that there is no hope for an alliance between our villages? At least, an alliance where I am involved in the union? Mei asked with concern. Not immediately at least. You will have to earn the forgiveness of my wives. It takes a single moment to break trust, but it takes much longer to earn it. If you're willing and serious about the treaty, that is what you will have to do. Naruto retorted. I see. I really have made a fool of myself, haven't I? Mei said with a heavy sigh. Everyone makes mistakes. It's part of growing up. And since we're always learning until the day we die, then it means it's never too late to learn from our mistakes and do better. Nevertheless, this is actually a good thing, believe it or not. Konoha and Suna already have an alliance. If Konoha also makes an alliance with Kiri, it would make the other villages nervous. They might even think we're conspiring to take them out and it could spark another war. Naruto said, Mei listening with rapt attention as she couldn't believe how wise and intelligent Naruto was, although also worried about where this conversation was going as it didn't sound like an alliance was viable at all based on what Naruto was saying. It would probably be better if I have already taken care of the other threats before we embark on a venture that might spark a world war. So while you try to earn the trust and respect of my wives, I'll be focusing on the threat, and then, if all goes well, we'll form and seal the alliance with marriage. Naruto said, internally thinking that he might have to pursue a marriage with Yugito as well if he was to prevent a war, as Iwa would not even think to go to war against the might of 4 ninja villages. Peace through love and understanding is what Jiraiya sensei said, isn't it? Hehe, I doubt he meant this though. Naruto thought amusedly. Okay, fine. In that case, we'll accept your deal. You'll get back your Byakugan if you give us back the Kubikiribocho, so long as I have your word that we will form and seal a marriage alliance when you take on the mantle of Hokage, and provided I am able to earn the forgiveness and trust of your wives. Mei said excitedly. You have my word, Naruto said with a warm smile, causing Mei to blush profusely, not having felt anything like this since she was a little girl fantasizing about her childhood crush, the yellow flash of Konoha. Gee good. Now, this serious life and death business that you discussed for a whole month with Yugito Dono. Care to fill me in on the details? Mei asked curiously, Naruto indulging her as the two powerful shinobi finally began eating their food, Naruto telling her about the Akatsuki, his encounters with them, their known members, their goals, and his proposal to Yugito and the Kumogakure ninja with respect to the protection of their Jinchuriki. After their discussions, in which Mei agreed to allocating more protection for her Jinchuriki, Naruto told her some of the stories about his past as Mei wanted to know more about him. Some of which had her bawling her eyes out in tears of pain and sorrow. And others in tears of laughter as she couldn't reconcile at all the clown that Naruto was as a child to the intelligent, mature man that he was today. Overall, the meeting ultimately going well as Mei could honestly say that she went to bed that night a better person than she was before she met Naruto, humbled, hopeful, and motivated for a brighter future as she never even thought the kind of ninja and person that he was even existed in the ninja world. Only problem is, her extremely happy and positive vibe after she eventually came out with Naruto had everyone believing that they did a lot more than just talking. Her subordinates didn't dare to say it, but she could tell. They thought they hid it well, but she was too experienced and too intuitive to be fooled. She wondered if Naruto's wives felt the same and if that didn't create any problems for Naruto. Initially she hadn't really cared about them or considered them as she had come with a go-getter mentality, determined not to miss out on Naruto like she missed out on Namikaze Minato. She hadn't cared who she had to run through or whose head she had to step on to get what she wanted. However, after spending time with Naruto, hearing about his past and his perspective when it comes to empathy and understanding the pain of others, she now was genuinely concerned about the pain and suffering that she caused the girls, which is why she planned to invite them over the following day, just the two of them, in order to hopefully hash things out. That's it for part 2 of What If Naruto Trained Alone Instead of with Jiraiya. If you're enjoying this independent Naruto storyline, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Naruto What If fanfics. Comment below, should Naruto trust Konoha again, or keep growing on his own? See you in part 3.